Hi, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for attending another episode and a webinar where we talk all about property investment. I would like to welcome Marius Brando tonight with us in this webinar. And Marius was gracious enough to sponsor this webinar along with Central Developments Property Group and Sandridge Heights. This property investment section. So, when Marius and I sit together, we can talk about property investment for hours and hours, but we promise we won't keep you up for that long. We're going to try and keep this webinar within a 40 to 45 minute duration. And at the end of the webinar, ladies and gentlemen, there is going to be something fantastic, which Marius will tell us a bit more about. And I think that is the purpose of when we do a webinar. And for those of you who have been on our webinars previously, where we spoke about retirement property investment and where we spoke about any other retirement properties in general, the webinar always has two parts to it. So it is very informative. We want to keep it relevant to property investment. And a lot of people, I'm sure, that are on the webinar tonight might be first-time investors. It might be people that are merely looking for more information, educating themselves to make the right decision. And I think the educational part and the right decision is something that we are going to be talking about a bit tonight as well. And then the other part of our webinar is to offer a call to action and a solution and an opportunity to our investors that are actually attending the webinar, who have registered for the webinar. So, it's all great if you've got all the knowledge, all the knowledge, and you've got all the information about property, and you never take action. Never taking action with all the knowledge that you have is knowledge wasted. So I really encourage you, go and have a look at our previous webinars as well. You will see in the chat box, we will be posting a link to our YouTube channel for our webinars. Please feel free to click on that. Go and subscribe so that you get notifications of upcoming webinars as well about property, and go and have a look at our previous videos and everything on there. So it's in the chat box right now, ladies and gentlemen. Please click on that and grow in wealth of knowledge. So without any further ado, Marius, shall we get started?
Let's do.
Excellent. Thanks. So the agenda for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to discuss the reasons why people invest in property, as well as the reasons why people don't invest in property, or what's their hesitation factors. We are going to give you a bit of an example of an income versus a cost scenario. And it's important to understand as well, I think, with this webinar, and when it comes to property, you can work on actuals, you can work on assumptions, but at the end of the day, you need to understand as well that doing your due diligence in terms of your numbers, running the numbers, is a crucial, important point when you decide to purchase a property. Building wealth with other people's money, we are going to talk about that. So although there's a lot of things that we can talk about investing in property, we want to focus on a few key elements about this property type of investment. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions for you as well. And at the end of the webinar, we will give you the opportunity to follow a link and inquire further, whether it is about the opportunity that Marius and the team is going to give us, or whether if it's just about extending your knowledge a bit further and want to talk to a property professional with no strings attached. That is what we are going to be offering you at the end of the day. So, Marius, let's get started.
Thank you for the opportunity, Charles.
Thank you for being here. So tell me, why do people invest in property?
Well, one of the main reasons, if we think about property investment and property as the product, I'm just also comparing that to industries that have come and gone. Blockbuster video does not exist anymore. VHS and DVD rentals have come and gone, and Netflix have killed it. Property has longevity. Residential property in particular is not something that's going to go away, because the product satisfies a basic need. Everybody, every human on earth needs shelter, and that is why world wars have been fought over property ownership. And That gives it longevity. And I mean, brick and mortar, there are buildings that have lasted 100, 200, 300 years, sometimes more. So that is why people put their money in it, and it appreciates in value. The second aspect of it is that investors, through property investment, through property ownership, they can build a legacy and generational wealth. So it's something that your children can inherit because it satisfies a basic need and it has a long lifespan. It is a type of vehicle. The third aspect that there's many aspects. We can go on for hours on it, but these are the most critical things. And that's what appeals to me in my portfolio as well, is the fact that I'm now able to make inflation my friend. Now inflation is counting for me and not against me. And these are the critical crux of it, why people do invest in property.
Yeah, I agree with you. And as you say, this is a very high level description of why do people invest, but I think it is every person has got its own vision in mind. At the end of the day, when you talk investment, you want to almost put an equal sign next to it and say retirement, pension, wealth creation, looking after my family one day, being independent. Yes. I think that sums up almost the reason why people invest in anything is to make more money. And property, for that matter, just gives people and investors the opportunity to invest in something that will be an asset one day with a lump sum amount connected to it, as well as a cash flow and income.
Yes.
Stable income. At some point, you are going to stop working. And if the salary falls away and you don't have your own business that continues generating an income, no matter how you involved you are, your property then becomes your business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next up, you'll see, obviously, there are many people that are skeptical about property investment, and it is a scary landscape. There are definitely risks, and people have reasons why they don't invest. And usually, many of it is based on perception. What I want to cover before we get to those aspects, the reason people do invest in property is that you don't have to have the full investment amount handy. If you buy a 500, 600, 700 or R1 million property, you don't have to have that amount of cash handy. So you can get money from the bank, get money from the tenant, and that pays that investment. And that puts property investment within the reach of normal salary earners. The case study that we're going to show here is a property that valued at 595,000. To get 100% home loan for that purchase amount, the person only needs to earn 16,000 rand.
That gives a wide audience an opportunity to get the foot into the door.
Exactly.
Wow.
So it's a low barrier to entry, and it makes it accessible to the people. And that's also why property will continue to grow, because you can leverage that. And we'll talk about leveraging in detail just now. The two most common strategies in property investment is either a quick flip. So you buy a rundown property, you put some money into the revamping it, you add value, and you flip it. That's a good business model. It works very well, but you need capital for that.
And expertise, I would,
a really good team that's not going to rob you blind in the revamping costs. So it's a very good business model. I've got friends and colleagues that do it with great success, but you need the knowledge, specialized knowledge, and you need a good team, and you do need a healthy lump sum cash available. It also doesn't come without its risks. So you need to know what you're doing. Almost in line with a quick flip concept, we do that ourselves sometimes, and we have clients that do that. They buy in a development in the first phase on the launch. Sometimes it's under construction, so they have the capital growth until it's built. Then they rent it out for a short period until the developer is sold out. And then at that stage, they sell it at an escalated price. And they take 50 or 100,000 or whatever the property is. They take it out of the property in a quick turnaround, maybe a year or two. So that I would say is a quick flip.
Well, to give you an example, I've done that a couple of times in actual fact. buying from a developer in phase one, launch prices, when there's nothing to see, you need to use a bit of your imagination. And then you go into the phase one, because that phase one is the best price you're going to get. Phase four is not going to look better, but phase four could be construction wise 18 months maybe down the line. But with every phase, as the sales increased, and a lot of the time, the better the development does, the sooner the prices increases. It's a business model.
Exactly.
You don't shy away from that. That's what it is. It's a business model. If something sells well, you don't drop the price, you increase the price. And that's where you can benefit as an investor. So buying, I've done it a lot of times. Quick flips, and it's part of diversifying that portfolio.
Exactly.
So I've got my long-term buy to lets that I'm building up for my wealth creation, but every now and then an opportunity arises. You buy into phase one, keep it for 18 months, 2 years, sell it at the end, make a quick 100,000 Rand, pay your taxes on it. It's money you never had. That startup capital opens new doors for you for the next investment.
Exactly.
Oh.
And I like applying that. I like the long-term growth approach, which is the other common strategy. Is you buy that property, it's part of your retirement planning. So you're going to buy it, and you're going to keep it for years and years. For me, the quick flip option is kind of like risk management. If the long-term growth, if I need cash, if something happens in my household and I need to access some cash, then I can flip the property. In the meantime, it served me well, and then I can liquidate it if something happens. So I always have both options in the back of my mind. It's part of my feasibility when I look at purchasing a property. Will I be able to get long benefit out of it? And should I need to exit quickly, will I be able to flip it and at least make a bit of a profit that way? So if it ticks both of those boxes, then I enter, then I buy the property.
As you know what, another thing is that a lot of people don't really realize, if they haven't spoken to property professionals that deals with property investment, is the equity portion of it. So if you've got a bit of a portfolio, even 2 or 3 units that you've now had for 4 or 5 or 6 years, there's equity in that property. When you all of a sudden need cash, maybe for the next renovation project or the next flip project, or even buying and selling your own home or whatever the case might be, and you need some equity, there's equity in that property without you needing to flip it or sell it.
Yes.
So you've paid off a lot of capital on that property, whether it's over 20 or 30 years, you've paid off a lot of capital on that property, and that is like an access bond facility. You've got equity in there, which you can access, and it's not about, taking out a second mortgage. It's just refinancing that portion that you're taking out. But borrowing 50,000 Rand out of your current bond and paying an extra 500 Rand a month on your bond versus borrowing 50,000 Rand on a personal loan and paying 4,000 Rand a month on it over a short period makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
And people forget about that equity factor that you can play. It's about refinancing and reinvesting, or using it for whatever you can.
That's it. No, absolutely no. If you don't have seed to plant, you can't get the fruit of it.
Exactly. So now there's a lot of skeptics now.
Absolutely. Now, I have seen people get hurt in property. I assisted a lady recently to sell her property. She purchased it for 15 years ago, and she sold it for less than what she bought it now. Now she sold it now for less than what she paid for it. So it depends on the area, it depends on the product, it depends on the design. There's many factors. Thankfully, in all my property dealings, I've bought and sold a number of properties in my lifetime. I'm not that older, but I have done a couple, and thankfully, property as a whole has served me very well. But just checking a couple of basics, you can avoid a lot of problems. Now, there are definitely risks. That's a given. There's definitely risks, and you often hear your friends sitting around the campfire or around the braai. Everybody there's got some sad story of what happened with them in property, and they are out there. But when you start interrogating that situation where they got where they lost money, and you start asking the right questions, you quickly determine that they got into trouble because they didn't follow the basics.
Yeah.
And the basics is buying in the right area. Location is critical. Buying the right product, and there's a lot of information on YouTube and on our webinars to cover that. So you hear these stories, people don't do their homework, they don't go through a basic due diligence. And then a big thing about it is tenant management. Tenant screening, I have discovered in a lot of cases, is non-existent. Usually, people that get into trouble, it's some family member or a friend that fell on hard times, and now you offer accommodation for them. And that's a recipe for disaster. You're going into business with a person that's already in trouble, and your investment property is a business. You need to think without emotion as far as possible. I wish I knew exactly how to eliminate emotion completely, but as far as possible, if you need to make a business decision, property investment is a business.
Yes. No, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, at the end of the day, appointing a tenant is probably, and screening that tenant correctly and knowing what to look for, whether you've got fraudulent documentation,
Yes,
whether the income that is declared is the actual income, checking references.
yes,
A small tip that I can maybe share somewhere here on the webinar that I do when I do my tenant screening is I look on the bank statements to go and see where does this tenant draw money. So on the bank statements, it shows you where withdrawals have been made. And if I can pick up, listen, there's more than not transactions that has been going through Lotto Star and at the casino at 12 o'clock at night and things like that, that should be a red light for you.
yes.
That should be something that you read between the lines to say that, okay, if this income is decent, it's okay. Excuse me. But, he likes gambling, whether he wins or loses, that's irrespective. But that could be a red light for you.
Exactly.
There's the credit history that you need to check. There is all of those aspects which effectively determines if you are putting a good tenant into your unit, or as you say, running it like a business, appointing the right person in your business. Because as soon as you've appointed the wrong person because you haven't done your proper screening and investigation and reference checks and all those type of things, and you are happy appointing this person, by the time you realize you've appointed this person, to get rid of that person out of your business costs a lot of money. It costs a lot of time. It ends up costing you a lot more with this tenant maybe not paying, and that is maybe part of the risk element that we're talking about, where investors are scared, my property standing empty. But if you appointed the wrong person, you screened the wrong tenant, you've put him in there for the first 2 months, he paid well, then he stops paying because you missed a couple of crew elements to check, then you're going to struggle. It's going to cost you money. And a lot of people have burned their fingers there. I don't think it's a secret,
Good tenants, there's just a couple of things that you need to do. When you scrutinize your tenant, you verify the employment. So you want to see at least 3 months bank statements. Pay slips. You phone the employer from a telephone number from Google. You scrutinize the bank statements. You want to see, are they borrowing money every 5 minutes from wanga.com and that type of thing? Where are they drawing cash? You pick up those things, and you want to see at least 3 months of that. So pay slips, you want to see bank statements, you want to see credit check. Absolutely critical. That's the bare minimum. You do a credit check, and then you scrutinize and you match that with a bank statement. And then you want that person to pay at least 1 month's rent, deposit. 1 month's rent in a deposit. Usually self-employed people pay double. And then if you can get a double deposit, that's even better. That is becoming more and more the norm, is that landlords insist on a double deposit. But you want at least a 1 month deposit, bare minimum. And if you cover those things, and then you're sorted. But using a reputable rental agent eliminates a lot of frustrations. A good experienced rental agent will go far. It helps.
Yes, because I think when it comes to property investors, everybody does not have the expertise to manage their own tenant. They do not have the time, for the tenant to phone them with either petty issues or valid issues or whatever the case might be that he needs to sort out. If there's a managing agent that can take care of those things, that is what you pay them a monthly management fee for. If it was easy, everybody would have done it. If you could have found a property around the corner that the tenant demand is just so overwhelming and it pays for itself and all those beautiful things, everybody would have done it, But the fact of the matter is there is business out there why people do that. There's reasons out there why people do it. And just to quickly touch on the risk before we move on, I think the important thing about investment as a whole, and correct me if I'm wrong, the important thing about investment is no investment that you make equals risk-free.
That's true.
So when you make investments, and I'm sure a lot of people on the webinar as well would agree with me to say that, the bigger risks you take, the bigger the reward. That is normally the basic 101 of it.
Yes.
Low risk, low reward, high risk, high reward. And the important thing to know about the property investment side of it, or any investment side of it, is just understand the risks. People are afraid to invest into property because they don't understand the risk involved.
Exactly.
And with property, there's actually so little risk to understand that it's easily explained.
And it can be managed.
And it can be managed. That's the important thing. Thank you. That's the important thing. So you can manage the risk yourself or with the help of a property professional or practitioner or managing agent. If you take R1 million of your own hard-earned money, which the bank is not going to borrow you to go and buy cryptocurrency and buy investment policy or do investment policies or other investments or anything like that, that is cash. And if you invest cash in other government bonds or anything like that, it's cash that you need.
You need the full amount upfront, and that's what we covered in the previous slide.
Exactly.
With property, you can access it through a home loan.
And when it comes to the risk factor, then it's risk out of your control. It's risk, it's investments that are being affected.
You mean cash investments?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cash investment. So any other investment that you do that you can't use other people's money, like the bank's money, to buy property. You take your own money, and the risk involved is determined by micro and macroeconomical factors, like what we see now with Russia and Ukraine and everything. They affect the entire market.
That's it.
So if you've invested your money there, you cannot control it. If you invest your money into property and you know what the risks are, you can decide when you want to exit. You can still sell it at the right time. You can still make a profit. Maybe not what you anticipated, but you can still get something. Or whatever the case might be, you can mitigate that risk in property because you understand what it is.
So we're digressing a little bit, but I want to leave this slide in a second with this one fact. So the rental agency that we work with, they have about 4,500 properties under administration. So we did an exercise with them where we went into their database and we analyzed the amount of units that where they have bad debt on, because you want your tenant to pay. So sometimes they don't pay. So we wanted to get a figure there. How much of their tenants, 4,500 units that they manage, how many of them are 30 days or more in arrears? It turned out that less than 1% of that 4,500 rental units were 30 days or more in arrears. Now that's a risk I can take. The second metric that we tested is vacancy. People are very worried they're going to buy a property and they can't rent it out. So this rental agent that we work with a 4,500 portfolio, less than 1% of them were standing vacant for 30 days or more. Less than 1% bad debt, less than 1% standing empty. I can live with that risk.
Comes back to track record.
Exactly.
Back the right jockey.
That's it.
Back the right jockey with a good track record. No, I couldn't agree with you more.
So we can go to, so we have a case study here. For example, a property that you buy for 595,000. We're going to look at some actual figures. These are real figures to give you an idea. So 100% home loan on 595,000, no money down. No money, except the securing deposit that gets refunded on transfer. but I mean, you need to book the property.
But it's not money wasted.
It's not money wasted.
No.
It can go into the transaction if you wish, but
Yeah.
or it can be refunded. So no money down, 100% home loan at the current prime lending rate, 30 years. Let's look at the rental income. Realistic rental income on this property, 5,700 a month. So it's like the bookkeepers, you've got your income and then your expenses. So the expenses, municipal rates and taxes, that's based on the value of the property. The city will bill you for your property tax. City of Joburg, COJ sanitation per month.
Yeah, and that's a new cost if I'm not mistaken, in Joburg specifically.
Yes,
It's-
they have started enforcing it, and it's
Yeah.
applicable to all properties in Johannesburg.
Mm.
So I mean, that's what everybody's going to pay. Then the levy, that pays for the insurance, the security, the garden service, the maintenance on the exterior of the property. So you've got to have a levy, 505 Rand a month for all of that, 24-hour security. I mean, that is actually small change. And then your monthly repayment on that 100% home loan, 4,787. So you've got a total expense of 6,281. Now you're going to say, but wait a minute, I'm only getting 5,700 Rand in. Yes, there's a shortfall of just under 700 there. This, you don't need, remember, you didn't put down any money at the start. No deposit, no transfer costs, no transfer duty. This is a property from a developer. And yes, there's a shortfall. Only 681. That's one restaurant trip that's one breakfast trip for a family of 4. If you really watch what you're ordering.
And nowadays it's a quick run to the shops for a braai evening.
Exactly. So I want you to look at this figure. For the year, your 681 Rand that you invest per month, cumulative for the year is 8,172. But you need to see this in perspective. This property escalated at 5%. Where do I get the 5%? In South Africa, we started keeping statistics on property prices in 1947. So for the last 75 years, property in the whole country, that's declining areas and growing areas, on average in the whole country, has grown by 9.35% on average. So I'm projecting 5% here. I'm being cautious in not over-exaggerating things. So if I add that 5% capital growth to the value of this property, you have gained, it grew from 595,000 to 626. So if I subtract that 8,000 Rand that you invested from the growth, you've already made a 22,000 Rand profit. Your investment has grown by 22,000 Rand and you only paid 681 Rand a month.
So effectively what this calculation shows you is in the scenario of a short-term investment, let's call it now a flip. So if you bought at 595, you kept it for a year with the tenants in place and you decide, okay, now I want to sell the property for whatever reason, and it grew with 5%, then that is what you can put into your pocket.
So if you say, I've only invested don't say I've invested 595,000 Rand. You haven't. You invested 8,172. And your 8,172 has yielded 22,000 Rand. You've almost doubled your money, more than doubled your money.
Mm.
You'll see what the impact on this on the next slide. In year 2, your income, your monthly rental goes up with 5%. Municipal charges, sanitation, levy, that goes up by 5% as well. But your home loan being calculated over 20 years in this scenario, we kept it the same. I know there's probably going to be interest rate hikes, but for this illustration, there's an escalation on your other costs, and your shortfall becomes less and less. So there you see your shortfall 360. You're only investing 4,200 Rand, 4,320, and your value property is now at the end of year 2 valued at 660. That's another 5% growth on the asset, and your income is increasing. And I want you to understand that's the power of property. Is the asset, when bought right, following a few basic principles, the asset increases in value and the income increases in value. It's a double whammy.
Mm.
And then you can see in year 3, on the next slide, you can see what the impact is. That shortfall, so your expenses escalated by 5% again. Now your shortfall is 127 Rand a month. and then it grew in value again. So you've only invested 1,500 for this year, year 3, and then you'll see in year 4 that you are starting to make a profit. Now, what I want people to think, just bear in mind, if you add year 1's cumulative shortfall of 8,000 Rand, the second year of about 4,000, and the third year of about 1.5, those 3 years combined is just over 14,000 Rand. So the amount of cash that physically left your pocket to acquire an asset that initially cost 595,000, the amount of cash that you physically took out of your pocket for that is about 14,000. And that's leverage. Here you can see the 4 years in the columns, and you can see there on your profit and shortfall, that fourth column from the top, 8,000 in the first year, 4,300 in the second year, 1,500 in the third year, and then in year 4 you're making a profit, and then it only gets better year on year. So you have acquired almost 600,000 Rand in day 1 value for your portfolio for retirement, and you're only going to pay 14,000 for it from your own pocket.
And that is the basic concept of it. So we know there's a lot of variables here, right? So we know that interest rates are going to go up and it's going to come down, and the rental market is going to get stronger, and then it's going to go down a bit. So obviously over a 20 or a 30-year period or whatever, if you decide to keep the property for that long and so forth, there's a lot of variables. We want you to understand, I think, from an investor's point of view, what is the concept, a buy to let concept, buying a property with other people's money, paying a bit of a shortfall, which you need to see as your monthly premium contribution to this investment. So I think that is quite straightforward. But Marius, I don't want a bond for 30 years. Help me out here.
Remember, people shy away from the 30-year bond. And yes, if you take this over 20 years, your bond repayment is going to be higher and you're going to settle it quicker. Your shortfall is going to be a bit higher, but yet in such a scenario, your 14,000 Rand investment, it'll be about 40,000. A prudent investor, this is a pro tip. Thankfully, I've never had an investment property stand empty, but provide 1 vacant month a year.
Oh.
Just to keep some money aside so that you don't get stressed out too much. It might happen.
It's a risk, you mitigate it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So provide for a bit of maintenance. Maintenance in general, I know in our company ourselves, we own and manage our own portfolio of about 6,000 properties. When a property gets damaged, it's so rare that it happens that sends shock waves through the company. It's like, wow, it's so scarce that it happens, that when it happens, everybody's talking about it. So properties do get damaged. So on rare occasions, it is really rare. If you've screened your tenant properly and you've taken a deposit, you can do repairs with the deposit.
Well, I think as well, yeah, damage is one thing, but in an investment property, damages will be recuperated and recovered from a deposit, repainting and all those type of things. But the maintenance element, I think, especially because you're buying either a new property or a fairly new property, your maintenance for the first 5 years are going to be very little to none, except for maybe a wear and tear on a washer here and this, that, and the other. But also maybe bringing that element of, when you buy an investment property, don't buy something that is going to require the most maintenance every year with wooden frames and at the coast where the sea salt eats up all the steel and all those type of things. So maybe that is, keep that in mind when you are doing your checklist of the type of investment property that you want to do and your budget and all of those type of things. So on the 30 years, yes, it's maybe a starting point for somebody to get their foot into the door.
Exactly.
But I don't know of anybody that has taken 30 years to pay off their property, because you want, whether you take it over 20 or 30 years, I think that the advantage of a 30 years is that you are not bound to a higher monthly bond repayment.
Yes.
You are bound to a lower monthly bond repayment. And if you want to pay 2,000 Rand every month extra into that bond and pay it off in 18 years or 20 years or whatever,
It's-
then you can
It's
do it.
doable. Absolutely. People
Oh,
shy away. They say, oh, 30 years, all the interest. Oh, the interest. Wait, who's paying the interest? You. No, your tenant is. It's not coming from your pocket.
wow.
So the 30-year bond is not the enemy here.
Mm.
What you also need to take into consideration, if you look at this graph on the screen now, there in year 4, you can see you're making a profit in the 4th year, 120 Rand. You can start pumping that into the bond. And then your 30 years can come down to 18, because in year 5, that profit is even more. And then it just gets better and better. You can plow that back in there, but it made your cash flow look great.
Yeah.
What I want to show you with the next slide is, if you take the same property with a 90%, so you do want to put some money in, maybe 10% deposit.
Show a commitment.
Exactly.
Wow.
A couple of things happen. Firstly, your repayment is going to look better, and there's a better chance that the bank's going to give you a better interest rate. Because you're showing some commitment, you're showing some skin, and the bank likes it. You are sharing risk as far as they are concerned, and then you reap the benefit in a better interest rate in most cases. So there you can see the calculation. It's the same property over 30 years at prime, same rental income 5.7, same levies, rates and taxes and so on. But then because of the lower home loan repayment, in your first year, instead of the 680 in the first scenario, you're now down to a 102 Rand shortfall. And then in the second year, you're already making a profit.
And we're not talking money here, Maurice. That shortfall, even from the very first slide, 680 odd Rand, that's not money. You're not talking about money for the bigger picture, for the asset and the potential future income stream. Because surely if you're a property investor, you don't want to start and end with one property.
Exactly.
You want to get your foot into the door, get into the game, start playing the game. Because if you don't play the property investment game, you are never going to learn. You are never going to acquire property number 2, because if you want to get property number 3, you need number 2.
And the lessons that you learn, you can only watch YouTube videos about property investments and webinars like this so long until you get into the game and you learn. You only start learning how this works if you start buying it and running it. Then you start learning how it works. And I mean the risk of 700 Rand short for 681. That school fees I'll pay. That's nothing.
Yeah, look, and I think what we're definitely not saying is don't go and experiment with your first investment on a 1.5 million Rand property.
Yes.
That is why opportunities in this type of price range, and Maurice will tell us a bit later, is so ideal to get your toes wet. It's something that can easily be managed. And also, if you are too scared to do it alone, do it with a friend.
Yes.
Do a joint purchase, share the risk.
I think that's a topic for another webinar.
That's something we can definitely talk about next. Yeah. So, share the risk, learn together, take the impact as a 50-50. But obviously, when it's a success and you do sell it and you make the profit, you're going to share it 50-50. But at least you've taken the first step.
Exactly.
Wow.
So there's people that talk about properties with zero shortfall.
Tell me about
so
that.
Does that exist? Yes and no. Let's investigate this.
We're going to make a lot of people cross. Yeah,
I must say, I have searched high and low. I really searched for properties with no shortfall. So the ones that I've found, and I have watched other webinars and been to seminars and stuff. The ones I've found that have zero shortfall, they conveniently leave out the initial investment of the transfer costs, transfer duty, and very often, usually, the revamp costs. You buy a rundown property, you pump in a lot of money in it, so you bought it dirt cheap because it was broken down. Then with cash in hand, you go and you upgrade that property, and then you rent it out and you compare your rental income with your initial purchase price. And then it's cash flow positive. Amazing. But they conveniently forget or leave out the cash that was pumped into that property.
The upfront capital you need available to make it happen.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then usually that's such a unique find. Even after putting some cash in there, that property doesn't have a track record. You don't know whether it's going to perform the way you want it to perform. Another factor that we didn't list on here, your time spent in searching for this unicorn, this once in a lifetime cash flow positive from day one property. It's going to take you years to find that property. In those years, you could have bought and sold other properties, built up 2 or 3 or 4 of other properties where you might have had to put a bit of money in every month. So you're losing opportunities in searching for this very, very, very scarce cash flow positive property from day one. So I want people to, I'm in the property game. I've been in the property game for years. I've bought and sold many properties. Cash flow positive properties, they are hardly ever, I hardly ever see them.
Well, look, I think you need to, the big thing here is you need to determine what your strategy is with that property. What do you want to do? What's your exit strategy potentially, Is the idea that you purchase this property and have it cash flow positive from day one? But what is a lucrative cash flow positive? Is it 500 Rand? Is it 1,000 or is it 2,000? What does it need to be for you to be cash flow positive? Building in all of the fat into the transaction, all the contingencies, the increasing interest rates, and all those sub things. And you need a power team that can facilitate everything for you, So if you're not buying from a developer, for argument's sake, that facilitates everything for you, all costs included, all those sub things, you need to now go and find the property, negotiate the price down. Nobody will sell their property below market value that you want if it doesn't need a bit of work. If it's a distressed property still, you need somebody that can negotiate with that buyer to get it at the right price that you want, that makes the feasibility work. And as you said, in the renovation, the attorneys that's going to handle it for you. So that power team, who's going to do the construction or the renovations and the maintenance and everything for you. So it requires you, and I mean, I've done it myself before, and that's why I know. And at the end of the day, when I did everything and I saw how much out of pocket I was and my projected profit that I had in this flip, it wasn't worthwhile to keep the property as a cash flow positive, because I'm out of pocket 100,000 Rand.
Yes.
I'm getting 500, 700 Rand a month in extra cash flow positive on this. But I had to sell the property to recuperate my costs and make a little bit of a profit. But, it took you 7-8 months for this whole process. Doing the revamps and the buying.
Very often when you find that type of property, the area, is it a growing area? Is there high rental demand? And those are factors that you need to take into consideration. But then that initial cash outlay often exceeds the small, manageable shortfall month on month. So I like buying from a developer, renting it out. I have a shortfall, but I'm comfortable with that. It's manageable. I don't have to put the lump sum in.
And it's not to say that you can diversify in the future there.
Exactly.
To that, or get used to that, or get with somebody into it. But if you have never bought property before, that's not the place to start. That's not the strategy to start with.
So we are talking about, at the start, we said that we're gonna talk about building wealth with other people's money. So who's the other people? Well, firstly, it's the bank that gives you the home loan. And secondly, it's the tenants that are paying you the monthly installment. So that's the other people's money. And that is the little bit of money you put in has a great result. And that's the leverage. That is where leverage in property comes from. Is banks will not lend money if they perceive risk. And residential property, the bank sees that as very safe. That's why the interest rate is not high. That's why the interest rate is low. They're willing to lend you the money. They know that it's safe. You can't steal the thing. You can't put it under your arm and run away with it. It's there. They know where to find it. The bank feels comfortable. If the bank feels comfortable, I feel comfortable. So that's the bank. That's the bank's money. And that, by using your good name, in the scenario we've got here, the 595,000 Rand property, your salary only needs to be 16,000 Rand a month, gross. Before tax and deductions, if you earn 16,000 Rand or more a month, you can start your journey in property investment. It's accessible. The bank will lend you the money. They see it as safe. You manage your tenant with a few basics, or you get a reputable rental agent to assist you with that. And that's how you leverage it.
And also the bank won't borrow you any amount of money to buy a property if the bank hasn't valued that property at that price,
Absolutely.
at least.
No,
You know,
they double check and triple check
so
that property. They will not lend you a cent if
you
it doesn't
know
check out.
exactly. So you know that property is worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah, no.
So
So to say that other people's money, A, it's the bank, B, it's the tenant that's going to help you with the rental income, pay off that loan, with or without the shortfall that you might have, or whatever the case might be. And then I want to almost go to the far extreme, maybe, to say if you want to further use other people's money a bit, is that scenario where you maybe buy with somebody you trust, with a partner, with somebody, buying something slightly more expensive where it's not all your money on
Yes.
your risk, it's 50% with somebody else. So
Exactly.
you're working with somebody else's money as well.
I
to
know
make
you
this room
did
for-
some transactions where you would calculate that shortfall in this scenario, 681 Rand.
Wow.
And then you would buy with somebody and you'll say, okay, you're in for half, I'm in for half. I mean, that is really manageable.
And let's buy a property now for R1 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, it is a stunning strategy. I mean, I love property. That's why I try and buy as quickly as the bank will lend me. I'll buy another one. So good news. This webinar today is sponsored by Sandridge Heights, by Central Developments, and this case study is based on exactly such a property that is available now. And now you can benefit from buying it on the launch because the development just launched. So you can benefit in that. So it can be a quick flip. Secondly, it is a development that Central Developments built about 7 years ago and have been rented out. So it's built low maintenance. It's built to take the hammering that the tenant can throw at it. So low maintenance. It's built the right way. All sorts of factors built into it to make it the ideal buy to let. And it's located in the perfect spot, right in the middle between Pretoria and Joburg. High rental demand, easy highway access. Midrand is most investors, it's where the jewel in their crown is their Midrand investment property, and that's exactly where Sandridge Heights is located. So there's a proven track record. These tenants have been staying there. They are happy there. Many of the tenants are buying in that estate, and many of our colleagues that are managing the rentals there, they are buying in that estate. So that just shows to me that people in the game, our colleagues that understand property, they are buying there. And the tenants enjoy living there, they are buying there. So back to you, with 16,000 Rand, we'll guide you through the process. We will even assist you with a pre-qualification if you're a little nervous. If you think there might be something on your credit record that's not right, we'll do a pre-qualification free of charge for you. The bond repayments as low as 4,787 a month. It fits in with a buy on the launch and flip later. And you are buying directly from the developer. So no cash down. Transfer cost, transfer duties included. You don't have to pay anything extra. There's no estate agent's commission. You're buying directly from the developer. Prime location, as I said, fully tenanted. Now, this is important. This development has a proven track record. For the last 6 months, there has not been a vacant unit. No vacant units.
Why would that be?
The location is right. The tenants are happy. The estate is well managed. High rental demand in this area. And the rental is affordable. The rental is affordable and the properties are affordable.
Well, the tenant screening was done right, probably, because you don't have problem tenants.
We don't have problem
They
tenants.
give notice when they want to give notice without just absconding and leaving, because that's the type of tenants
Exactly.
they would have been. Yeah.
And another benefit I can give prospective buyers is I can show them the track record of that particular tenant of the property that you're interested in.
That's valuable.
Exactly.
But this is now a very interesting concept, Maurice. So just quickly tell me about Sandridge Heights in terms of how it is possible that the development is fully completed. How many units are there?
592.
592 units that were previously tenanted for the past couple of years. and now it's being sold. Tell me, how does that model work?
So that is one of Central Development's business models. As we build it and we tenant it and we rent it out, the rental income can cover the cost of the project, our interest and so on. But the benefit for the public is that they can now buy an inner development at the construction cost of 7 years ago. So that is a big saving.
When the first brick was laid. Yeah.
Exactly. So they get that. And the estate offers fantastic facilities. There's a jogging trail in there. There's a kiosk on site. There's a car wash on site. There's a laundry on site. Excellent security with security guards at the boom gate with those spikes at the boom gate so they don't tailgate you. This estate does not have problems. This is an estate to buy into.
So you're buying a completed unit. The example that you gave us was on a 1-bedroom apartment for 595.
Exactly.
What other options are there in Sandridge?
So all the 1-bedrooms are on the ground floor. There are also 2-bedroom units on the ground floor, first floor and second floor. So 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment on the top floor, 835,000. On the first floor, 845, and on the ground floor, 895. So
With
that
a little bit of a private garden.
exactly private gardens, which is quite unique. And I just want to point out the carports at Sandridge is not shade net. It's solid, proper steel carports. Each unit gets a carport as well. It's included in the price. That private garden closes with a gate. They can actually have a braai there. Those ground floor 2-bedroom apartments are renting for 7,500. Very affordable. And that's one of the reasons why this estate is full. It's affordable rentals. It's affordable purchase, but it is in a prime location. I don't want affordable to make it sound like it's affordable housing. But I mean, it's within the reach of a great part of the population.
Look, affordable is the right word, because where can you buy property in a location like Midrand in a security estate with 24-hour security, not just boom gate complex,
For under $1 million.
For under $1 million, for under 900,000,
Exactly.
for under 600,000 for that matter.
Yes.
Where do you buy it? I mean, as you say, construction cost nowadays is the reason why new developments is priced much higher, because of the fact that over the past 2 years, 3 years during COVID, where everything standard still and all the costs were inflated. Now you're feeling the effect of it actually,
Exactly.
you know, as it comes back now.
Now,
So-
sorry for interrupting.
Yes.
I see feasibilities for future projects that we are planning. Construction cost is a monster.
Well,
I guarantee you, you will never be able to buy a property directly from a developer at these prices ever again. It is not possible. You will not see these prices from a developer ever again.
yeah, comparing apples with apples, with the facilities, with the location, with the amenities, you know, all that stuff. Safety is a big thing nowadays.
Exactly.
Everybody is paying that premium rather to be in a secure, safe complex where you have that 24-hour assistance. You know, it's what it's all about. So Marius, you've gotten us now all excited. You've shown us something great. Tell me how far I can squeeze your arm to give the clients that, so I'm already referring to clients here. I'm expecting you're going to get a lot of inquiries. But let's say everybody who's attending the webinar, everybody who's registered will have a chance to get in contact with you. What can you give them as a bit of an incentive? Although you're already, it sounds that you're providing a lot with everything, but what can we give them more for this special offer?
Okay, you pressed me hard earlier, and
Special order.
I would have liked to, give you a stunning option. I have a deal for you exclusively for the people that are attending this seminar, this webinar right now. So you've got a limited time. We're opening the window only for 2 days. If you commit within the next 2 days, now bear in mind, this is directly from the developer, costs are included. Bear in mind, you are buying a property at construction cost of 7 years ago. Bearing in mind, you're getting it with a tenant already. I would like to do better, but the best I can do now, and it's only for 2 days. I can give you 6 months levies, but not just the levies, also the sanitation charge, and also the CSOS fee. So anything on your levy statement from the managing agent, Obviously not the municipality account. That one is going to break the bank. But anything on your levy statement for 6 months, I will cover that cost.
So effectively, if we take that one bedroom scenario, we had a 505 odd rand on the levies.
Maybe Paige, go back to that screen for us quickly. Let's go to that figure.
Let's quickly see what you're going to be saving for the next 6 months to give you that head start. So going back to the one bedroom apartment, I remember it was the 505 rand on the levies.
That's it.
There's the 598 rand on the COJ sanitation, which is a flat rate, going through.
Yes.
And the CSOS, and that's a very small amount. So let's take these two. It's 1,100 rand that you are potentially giving back. It's a saving for the next 6 months. So after 6 months, you will revert back to this sort of shortfall. But for the first 6 months, you are effectively 500 rand cash flow positive if it's this scenario. Am I
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
That's exactly the case.
So I want to encourage everybody to please click on the link. There's a link that has been posted in the comments section, ladies and gentlemen, to get in touch with Marius and his team to inquire not only about this offer, not only about Sandwich, but to inquire with the team if you have any more questions with regards to the investment side of the property. Maybe you're looking at something or know of somebody that wants to buy for own use. That's also 100% right. But on the investment section, speak to Marius and ask him all the tough questions that you find difficult and don't know necessarily who to ask. Marius and the team will be able to assist you. They will be able to work out the best deal for you, look at everything, do the pre-screening. And we have also, from Central Development side, our own in-house financing team that will be assisting you with the finance. So you don't have to worry about getting finance on your own from any of the banks. We do the competitive finance applications through all the major banks. And then also there's the tenant management that you guys offer. So
absolutely.
So already with the proven track record, you can buy a unit for investment, have a tenant sourced and placed in your unit and managed. So the initial charge is free.
There's no placement fee.
There's no placement fee. So the service of providing you a tenant in your unit is absolutely free. And then there's a monthly management fee of 9%, including VAT. Am I right?
That's it. So it's inclusive. It's a very competitive rate. I've seen 14% in some instances. So they charge a management fee. If you don't want to use a managing agent, I don't recommend it, but we can assist you in getting you on your way to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Marius. Guys, happy investing. Click on those links, follow through, put in your details. Marius and his team will be in contact with you from tomorrow to discuss anything you would like. Thank you very much for joining. Remember to subscribe to our webinar channel, and future and previous webinars you're welcome to view there. Marius, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you, Shaul, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Have a great evening.